Coming to you live from downtown Detroit, this is Benzinga's PreMarket Prep with your host, Joel Elconin.
This is a volatile puppy here, isn't it?
And Dennis Dick.
I'm bidding a penny. I will buy the stock for a penny.
With everything you need to start your trading day.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this Tuesday edition of Benzinga's Pre-Market Prep. Spencer Israel here with Joel Elconin and Dennis Dick. Busy show today. We're going to, of course, talk about follow-through from yesterday's action in tech and elsewhere. We have some individual news as well. Blackberry, Oracle, Roku, just to name a couple stocks we'll hit on specifically. I'm sure we'll talk about Facebook as well. Our guest today, Nick Chahine, author of Create Income with Option Spreads on the Marketify platform. He will join us at 8:35 as he does normally on Tuesdays. Joel, what's doing this morning in the SPOOs?
We're in the green by 5.25 points, trading at 27.28 even. Caught a bid last night right at the fair value close of 27.17. Our pre-market low 27.16 Just been a creeper rally here. Not much on the upside. Looking for the pre-market high of 29 even. That's only a buck away. Next level 31.75. After that, who knows where the resistance is. Coming back on the downside, if we do take out that pre-market low, I'm not looking for a lot of follow through on the downside. I think shorts may be tightening things up ahead of the number, and I think longs will be squaring the ways too. So looking for a tight day. Bitcoin futures, they're trading up $100 at 85.20. There was some regulatory talk. I believe it was on Sunday night that I gave it $1,000 rally. So hanging out in the $8,500 area. Crude up 75 cents at 62.88. Gold down 660, 13.11.20. Silver in the red by 7.5 cents at 16.25. Let's bring in Dennis and see how he's doing this morning.
It's been a rough week so far, I'll tell you that. So anyways, I always like people to learn from my mistakes, and I made a couple of mistakes this week. One was just bad luck, actually. So I wouldn't say I really made mistakes yesterday with the trading. I had Facebook coming in long. It was an overnight hedge against some of the other stocks that I had, and obviously I had bad news, and it got out. And I actually got out of it at a decent price because you were asking me yesterday on the show, well, is this one you're going to hold on to? What are you going to do? And I'm like, no, it was an overnight hedge, and I've just got to eat it and, cut my loss and get out. And I sold it in the pre-market at 177.70, I think. And obviously that day never even came close to trading up there. It opened at 177 and then fell another $7. So it's a good trade. It was a good out for me to get out of Facebook, obviously, at a price where 7 points higher than where it could have went. So I could have taken a lot more heat. So cutting the loser was key for me yesterday. I fought my way back yesterday. I fought my way back last night, got myself green after a disaster Facebook trade, and then kind of pooched a lot of it overnight by making an overnight call. So I'm hedged up pretty good last night, and I just had a feeling that we were going to get follow through overnight. And sometimes when you just trade on your feelings and not so much on your systems, you deviate from it, you get yourself into trouble. So shorted a little bit more tech, did a little bit heavier on the short side, didn't hedge myself up like I normally do, and I come in and we rallied. And so I get what I deserve, strayed from my systems here again, and getting punished for it.
All right, this is an ongoing debate, so I'm just gonna make the last statement and say, if you had a spool account, you could have bought some spoos last night. You would have been okay with it against your triple Q hedge. If
you had a spool account, but how'd you know I already made the call? I didn't know we were going to rally.
But you would have seen it. You're a tape reader.
I guess I can't. I don't get sleep anymore. Is that what it is? I'm supposed to come up wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning every single night and make sure the S&Ps aren't deciding to turn around all of a sudden.
Well, you could trade Spencer.
Alarm.
You could trade Spencer, so he could stay up all night and watch the spoos. He's up a lot of the night, isn't he?
I'm not a spoo trader. So, and here's another thing too. I've been trading equities for 18 years. I've been profitable every single year of those 18 years. And I've nibbled into futures before. I've nibbled into options. I've never developed the consistency, probably because I haven't put the time and the hours into it. But I'm just saying, if you have a system that you made money with every year for 18 years and you trade equities, Why stop trading equities? Why, deviate from what works for you? If you're a good futures trader, trade futures. You're a good stock trader, trade stocks.
Hey.
I know how to trade stocks. I trade the SPY as my futures. But I'm going to stick with what I know, and I don't want to start deviating and start trading futures overnight. Because to be honest with you, I'm a stock trader. I'm not a futures trader.
What are you going to do when the spiders go to 24 hours?
I don't know if I'll ever sleep again, so I hope that doesn't happen.
Okay. All right. We got a lot of news this morning here and a lot of stocks. Let's go. Let's big tech. Let's go with the Oracle earnings.
All right, Oracle was out yesterday after the bell. Q3 adjusted EPS 83 cents versus a 72-cent estimate, so that's a beat there. Sales at $9.8 billion, that beat the $9.78 billion estimate. They do see their Q3. They reported their Q3 cloud sales up 33% year over year. That was, I think, not what people were hoping for. This morning, we've seen a couple of downgrades already. KeyBank and Stifel have both downgraded the stock, and they've both cited concerning cloud sales. KeyBank issued a note and has said that the transition to the cloud was a major factor in our July 2017 upgrade, but is taking much longer to play out. So I think the cloud number was not quite what people were hoping for. They did also come out with some guidance. The EPS guidance for the quarter was higher, and the sales guidance for the quarter was higher as well. But again, it is the cloud that has people concerned this morning.
You are also getting downgraded by Bank of America and Nomura. So 4 downgrades for Oracle here today. So not a fun morning here for Oracle shareholders. It tried to rally a little bit on the initial number, but then they just started hitting it. So the rally was less than a minute, and they started hitting it hard. And this is something we see from Oracle again and again. I'm going to talk about it every time they report. It is Groundhog's Day around here. And it seems like, and I don't remember last time. Yeah, they did. They disappointed last time too. It seems like 80% of the time they disappoint. Stock gets hit. And then when you look at it 3 months later, it's gotten all the losses back. So it's always paid off to buy the dip in the Oracle earnings. Maybe not on day one, but, within, a month of it, before you start getting that 2-month run up ahead of the earnings, it seems to work. I own Oracle in my investment account. I've been in this stock forever. I bought it at $9 during the financial crisis, so I plan on sticking with it. But I'll just say, is paid to buy the Oracle dip on earnings almost every single time.
And you got a buyer lurking here in the $47 handle. A lot of times I say a lot more to go on the downside. I don't know. 47.21 was your pre-market low. That was made at 4:15 after the 4 a.m. open. And then you've gone down to 47.25. Nothing really here on the dailies. You've had a major low at $46 area, 45.92, and also 46.17. So I'm going to wait and see. We're still in the upper 47 handle. It just seems like there's some buying going on. I think even if you do get into the 46 handle, you're going to see some more buyers, maybe wait for a double or triple bottom for this to, mount a rally. But to me, opening down $4.50, not shorting this one in the hole.
You'd say sympathy plays. Usually Salesforce.com is one you think about, but really there's nothing pure direct here. Overall, tech got a little bit hit just on him. But if you look here, obviously tech has been very wild. Tech had a wild day yesterday. Tech has had a very wild overnight session. We got hit pretty hard on Facebook numbers. Facebook was actually down another $2.50 last night, retesting the 170 low after hours. It has bounced back. We're up at 172 here right now. But let's just talk Facebook here. It got annihilated. I got lucky. Well, not lucky. I just got out because I don't like taking heat. And my systems say, even though I'm down 4% something, to sell it. And I sold a pre-market 177.5. Happy that I did that. But we went down to a big psychological level of $170. We retested that almost to the tick, Joel, after hours. Check out the after hours chart on FB. What was the after hours low?
The after hours low is, let's see here, right when we were talking, 170.10. And then yesterday's
4 cents off it.
Yeah. Yep. 170, that's a psychological level too. I don't know if this was off earnings. When did we go down? Oh, I think we went down to 167.18 when they totally changed their business model. That was the low back on February 9th when they tried to, did the shift in the advertising and the focus of their what do you call it? Was it advertising?
Newsfeed.
Newsfeed. Yeah. Newsfeed. But yeah, 170, if you're short, you be keeping an eye on that level. Coming back on the upside, someone's trying to keep a lid on it here at 172.70. That's your pre-market high. You're a buck away from there. Above 172.70, you do have some room to run on the upside. And that 172.70 is just someone trying to get out of at the mark. We closed at 172.56.
Jumping just over to other earnings news here. We might as well do the last one that was on the list, and that is Children's Place PLCE. They report earnings this morning, and it is not the place to be because the stock is getting the beats. It is down $11 in the pre-market, assuming not a good report.
Q4 adjusted EPS of $2.52, which is a 3-cent beat of the estimate. Sales of $570 million versus a $574 million estimate. So a mixed report there. They did say comps are up 8.2% for the quarter. They also announced a $250 million buyback plan, but the guidance the guidance wasn't so terrible. The fiscal year EPS guidance at least was in line with the estimate. They're raising their dividend by 40 cents to 50 cents a share. That's a quarterly dividend. So at least in the headlines, nothing screams run out of those headlines, but getting the beats anyway.
Yeah, this market wants to see, especially from a stock like PLCE, which has outperformed many of the other retailers. They want to see significant growth. Don't want to see sales not beating the number, first of all. They don't want to see guidance not getting raised significantly. And that's, they try to, cushion it by doing the little buyback there, but it's not good enough. I mean, when you put this in perspective, a year and a half ago, this was a $60 stock, now $138 stock. So, maybe recently it hasn't done as well, but expectations are still high, a lot higher than other retailers. And that's why when you see a report that is mixed and they miss on sales, they usually hit it.
This stock is really getting into a danger zone here. Dennis, you talk about $60. I'll talk about it hitting 160, 165 here just in January. And it's been a big sell-off. Your pre-market low stands at 123.95. Spencer, pull up a monthly chart on this because this is scary. This is when I see a stock like this and I look at a monthly chart, I see, we had been holding now 130. We have taken that out. But on your monthly, where's there to go to hide? 106.25. That was your November low. And very hard for it to get to it today, and you'll have to go back and take a look at your dailies here. But usually when a stock comes up through an area that quickly, has an opportunity to go back down through that area quickly. I don't know. I think you could get this thing much closer to $100 if you get some follow through in this one on the downside.
I tend to agree with you here. I don't know about 100. But it broke out. So if you just look at 2017, looking at the majority of the chart, you had major resistance up at 120. We finally took that out when everything broke out in November, went up to 160. I think we're going to, at a minimum, retest the 120. And I don't know if we've been that low pre-market or after. I haven't really looked at the pre-market chart here. But 120 is, old resistance. That might lend you some early support. I think we're going to test it, though. So we're 126 here right now. I think there's another 6 points on the bone here.
Yeah,
from the short side.
Yeah, and if you're shorting this thing and you're just following the trend, just be aware your print. You have a very little volume printing in the 131 handle. Actually, 131.60 stands as the high, but I don't put a lot of credence in that. But just keep an eye on the pre-market low. Of course, if you're short, this is a big windfall. If you're short, I'm not sure how much options are trading in it, but some people could be bringing in some nice profit on the options. So you may see some artificial buying there. I want to welcome Billy H to the show and the chat. He found us on Google, and he just wants our thoughts on Adobe, ADBE, and this is an interesting chart here. I think it was off earnings and made its all-time high at 228.88 with an all-time closing high of 225.66. That's the number I'd keep an eye on. Besides the all-time high, I want to see it improve on that all-time high close of 225.55, and I want to see it do it in a hurry, or else you got a gap fill. No, you don't. You do not have a gap fill, but that's my number to keep an eye on. Little pullback after the all-time high in earnings. Dennis, any thoughts on Adobe?
Upgrade this morning by DZ Bank. Price target $252. So it's getting a little bit more of a lift in the market with the upgrade. That's not a very influential analyst over there, though. You know what I'm going to keep my eye on is yesterday's low. And yesterday's low was 218.68. That's what you want to stay above. And if for whatever reason you start deviating between 218.68, you can even look down. There's a couple lows that coincide with that 217.60.
Look at this.
Take out 217.60. Then I think you're at 210 in a hurry. So that if you are long this thing and bullish it, that would be where my stop out is. I'd say the 217.60 low, looking back on the 14th of March, takes that out, and then you're in a little bit of hurt on Adobe.
Yeah, you read my mind exactly here. I saw the 1868 low, but I saw that was buffeted by three lows between 1760 and 1843. That 1806 low just about in the middle. So couple good levels to keep an eye on Adobe. I'd never heard, what was it? DZ Corp? Was that who? What was
DZ Bank.
DZ Bank.
They're there. They aren't very influential.
They're not not Deutsche Bank. No,
I've
never heard of
DZ
it.
Bank.
I've never heard of it.
DZ Bank. Let's go here. I'll click it and see. Yeah, have you heard of DZ Bank?
Yes, I have. I have. Yes, they're not a major player.
It's the second largest bank in Germany by asset size, so it's another German bank.
Okay, all right.
It's a German bank,
right.
So it's not your Deutsche Bank, which is obviously your biggest. So they're DZ Bank, so it's the smaller one.
Okay, all right.
Let's jump over. If you want to stick with ratings, there was just a couple other ones to talk about there, just because we just mentioned it. Roku, ROKU, that's getting an upgrade. Who's upgrading it this morning, Spencer?
This is from Oppenheimer. They said something interesting. They said they no longer, Roku to them no longer appears like a compelling short. And I was having.
So they're upgrading it because of that?
Yeah.
What's the upgrade to? Neutral or something?
I wasn't looking in my pro when I read. I just read from my.
Grab it.
I'll grab the exact rating in a second. I also want to pull up the chart. The one thing I wanted to say on Roku was I was having a hard time this morning when I saw this. I was having a hard time figuring out what the short interest was on the stock because I couldn't get an exact reading on what the float was. Seeing different numbers from different people, but they are upgrading it to market perform.
From underperform.
Yes.
So they hadn't underperformed, so they've been right about this for a while. Now they're going to market perform. So, like you said, don't want to be short here anymore. The stock is up 5.4% here this morning on this upgrade from Oppenheimer, who is influential. I tell you, the major resistance is $40. They were in a breakdown mode since 40. I think it's tough sledding here. I don't think the stock is by any means out of the woods, and I don't think it is out of the woods until it gets above 40. Gets above 40, then the shorts start thinking about it, but right now the shorts are in control as long as the stock is below $40.
Okay, so all right, they initiated this at a perform in 2017. I don't know what was they. I don't even see their price target on it then from Oppenheimer. I just don't know. I mean, they say it's no longer a compelling short. I just want to know how long they've said that. I mean, because if they said this anytime after November.
Yeah, when did they initiate? Because they were taking heat on it.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy. It's easy to say now after the thing just came up short of the all-time high, goes 52 down to 34. Oh yeah, and it's no longer as short.
All right, okay, ready? Oppenheimer initiated Roku at a perform rating back in October. They downgraded it in November, a month later, to underperform, and that's where they've been at. So since
what was the date? What was the date of the downgrade?
November 14th.
November 14th.
They downgraded it on November 14th.
Yes.
And underperform. Okay, so they're making money then. Because it was that was the big day, November 14th. It depends, I guess, when it came out, because it was 36.58 and 48.80 and a 12-point range that day. So if they upgraded at the high of the day, then it was good call. If they upgraded at the low of the day, then it was a not so good call.
I don't know.
Tough to figure out whether they're hot or not.
I'd rather follow Denny's simple technical analysis than trying to figure out what these analysts are doing.
Yeah, that's true. Amazon, we just got Ed Parker talking Amazon. You know what? There's a headline from Amazon, and this broke from Bloomberg last night, and I'm not sure what. There's no details here or very few details there. Maybe you can go hunting a little bit, Spencer, as well. Maybe the pros got more details there. But Amazon was said to be considering buying some of the Toys R Us locations. Now, they didn't say what they planned on doing with this, and it's just saying they're mulling it. So they're just thinking about buying some of the Toys R Us locations. Does that mean they want to reopen their own Amazon toy stores? Does that mean they just want to get, potential stores maybe for their Whole Foods? Maybe they want to open up their Amazon stores. What do they want to do with that? But it's an interesting headline. I mean, if they decide they want to keep a couple of these toy stores open as Amazon toys, I mean, that would be huge for Mattel and Hasbro. And Mattel and Hasbro, or Mattel's getting a little bit of a bit. It's up 1% here this morning, but really it's on light volume. I don't think that's the case. I think they probably just like the locations and say, hey, maybe we want a few of these stores for, our other business.
Seeking Alpha pointed out this morning that in 2015, Amazon also had discussions to buy some locations from Radio Shack, and nothing came of that. So I don't know.
You don't think there's much here?
No, I didn't read the article. I just read that.
This isn't going to be life for Mattel.
No.
Because Mattel, and I was looking at this Mattel chart here. This has been absolutely annihilated. And it's been annihilated, obviously, because Toys R Us going out of business. It was 16 that day that it was announced. Now it's 13. We know that's where they sell most of their toys. And we know Hasbro is probably in a little better shape to weather the storm than Mattel, but it hasn't been a good ride for Hasbro either. Hasbro's went from 93 down to 86. But Mattel, remember, was in play. There was rumors that Hasbro was going to acquire them. And if you look at the chart, you can see this. If we go out to the weeklies, you can see this back in November when the stock gapped up from $13 up to $17, $18 a share. I think you had rumors earlier than that as well. But, it's been rumored multiple times that, Hasbro's interested, maybe not at those prices. Well, now it's come down to 13. Do you think as it continues to down, it comes down, that Hasbro might have interest in this again? I mean, you're back at the support level where you were before. And obviously fundamentals for the stock has completely changed. As a standalone company, it's in a lot worse shape without Toys R Us. But do you think Hasbro might be thinking about, combining still here, and maybe that the stock is cheaper? Maybe 13 is an opportunity. What are your thoughts here?
Oh boy, do you think that your son Spencer's kids are even gonna have toys?
No, long term, and this is the great point you're making here, because long term, I think, toys stores have got to, develop more electronic toys, because I'll tell you, and, my buddy from Chicago is the same thing with his kids. And, I see it, with other kids as well, that you give them an iPad or you give them, some Mattel, figures or, trucks or anything like that, they'll take the iPad every single time. And obviously, as a parent, I want him to play 90%, with physical toys and 10% with iPads. But this new generation, as it goes, develops more and more liking for the electronics. And, that might not be the case going forward here. So, as you get the younger parents that are more, into electronics and stuff, maybe they don't mind their kids playing, a little bit more on iPads and iPhones and stuff. So in any regard here, the writing is kind of on the wall, in my opinion, for the toy makers, and it's not good writing. So agree with you. I'm just saying, if I was buying Mattel right now, it's not about the fundamentals, on the company, because Correct. I think those are terrible. It's a matter of whether Hasbro, which, still has similar fundamentals making toys, would want some synergies by acquiring a company like Mattel, because they were interested in November. And I think there's the outside chain. I wouldn't short Mattel here for that reason, because I think there's a wild card that Hasbro could come sniffing around again. Maybe the play is to buy some outside calls or something. Maybe some 14s where you get it on the cheap. You don't have to buy the stock. Maybe you look at the 14 calls and you pick those up for a few months out for 30, 40 cents. Maybe that's the way to play it. Lottery ticket style.
Yeah. Just the fundamentals of these. Spencer or Spencer's kids, they're going to be playing esports, man. They're going to be on esports teams, and they're going to be doing this stuff, and they're not going to.
Joel is long esports. They're trying to get long esports. You've convinced me.
I don't know how to play it, but it's just, I harken back to the day when Dana and Emily were growing up, and they had, I think they were Game Boys. Do you remember those, Spencer?
Yeah, Game Boy. Yeah.
And they only got to use them when we were when we went on vacation or a road trip or something, and we wanted them to be quiet in the car or on the airplane. That's what we did. Man, have times changed, but
they really have.
Yeah, I just do not. I just don't like the fundamentals of these companies. And Gumby 966 says, Whole Foods may be looking for new locations for Whole Foods. I could be looking more on the real estate end, and I tend to agree with him. Or
the Toys R Us mulling the stores. I think so too. They didn't give details on why they're mulling it. So obviously a lot of speculation on what could potentially be happening there. I agree with you. I think it might just be for Whole Foods locations.
We got someone new in the chat here, and I think it's Kraith. Yes. Let us know how you found the show. We sure like to know. Have we talked Micron yet today? And Dennis, I'm going to let you talk about Micron.
I put some of my investment portfolio yesterday.
You did?
I nibbled into it. Yes, but this is still high. I nibbled on a third position. So I just started a position, and because it's run so far that I have trouble. I want to pull back to 50. I really do. I think there's, great value here. I think it's still cheap. I think, and I said this on the show 2 days ago, I think in 2 years it's going to be $100 stock, maybe even less than that. But right now it's run so far. It's like, I don't want to miss it, but it's run up so far. I mean, it was $40 a month ago. Now it's 60. You're paying up, 33% or 50% here. So it's hard to pay up. So I put a third of my normal size position on. Comes down to 50, I'm going to put the rest of the position on. But I like Micron here. I think the PE, the valuation is still attractive. And I think there's still growth happening here too. So love Micron, love the relative strength that it showed yesterday. I'm long it overnight for a day trade, but more so I've got obviously my investment portfolio here now as a small piece. We will see if I continue to do that or not. But, add to it. But I like it.
All-time high, 97.60. That was made during the tech crisis. I'm not even going to make a 2-year steak dinner bet on this one because I just don't think it's going to be at $100. But if you're trading this short term, you got a big level to keep an eye on here, and that's just under $61. You had yesterday's high at $60.99, and then your 2-day high at $60.69. So above 61, it gets interesting here, because you have no daily highs to 63.42. My focus of control is 60.58. That's been the high close in the move. So as long as you're just consolidating around that number or improving on that not all-time high, but the high of the recent move, then I think things bode well for Micron. But long-term bull move, Denny, but it was good. You put a third in, and that's it's a good thing to do.
Starting a position. It allows me to watch it closer to, obviously, too. I can't feel my Facebook talking. Yes, the cow likes Micron, too, because the cow does say moo. That's a good joke. M-U.
I got that one. Okay.
I
laugh. All right. 27.26. Spoos are trading up 3 1/4 here. We hit a pre-market high 27.29. Just made a incremental new high here. So I think that's boding well for a little bit of a seesaw session here. Oracle still continue to leak it here in the lower 47 handle. But let's talk of a fun stock here that Dennis is going to be trading a lot of today, ARNA. What's the news on that one?
We had some really good data this morning.
Look at the daily.
Let me pull up.
Look at the daily chart on this one.
Nobody got the memo on this one, Joel. Absolutely nobody.
Arena Pharmaceuticals, phase 2 clinical trial, met all primary and secondary endpoints. So I guess I'll pull up the daily chart. Oh, wow. Let's look at that. Whew.
Everybody, so nobody got the memo on this. This thing has been down for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 straight days. Now they get the good data and everybody gets their losses back. That is my word of caution. Everybody that bought this thing in February and March, all of a sudden is getting all of their money back in one day after watching, 30% of their money go away. All those people will be trying to probably, get out thanking, thanking the stars there that they've got, that they're getting their losses back. So I think you run into major resistance all over the place here. 42, 43, 44. I don't know where it was trading after hours. I don't know where it was trading pre-market. I wasn't following it closely, but what I'll say is I think you got major resistance you're opening into here. What's the after hours high?
Well, they got really carried away on this one. They took it all the way to $50.
Okay, well, maybe, that it went to 50. Now it's a 41.5. So, that's not good news either, really. It's 50, it's 41.5. It's giving back almost half the gain then. So I think if you get up there, the 43, 44, I think all kinds of resistance here. Again, I think 50 is gone. I don't think you're going to see that. I think the good times that were had last night and I think it might continue to leak here. So just be careful on this one.
Yeah, $50. Wow, that's really took it.
That just got way overdone.
Just a street totally leading the wrong way on this one. So you can pick out some daily highs here to keep an eye on. One, we're trading at 41.24. I didn't even see what happens at 42.27. That was your high on the 12th. And then you have 3 highs at the $43 area from earlier in March. So, if I had a big long on this thing, start out with, the lower shares at, 42. I mean, if you're wanting to unload it here and just, be a scale up seller, but increase your size the higher you go for a better average price. I couldn't imagine any price that I would want to own this today after being up $10, but street leaning the wrong way into this report.
For sure. So 831, we did get some imbalances here. They're small. Just of note, Alibaba is 49,000 to buy. Alibaba had an ugly day yesterday, but did come off the lows, and a lot of the tech stocks did. It got down to 192. It is bouncing back up. I think you're thinking now, we got up above 200. We snuck a couple people thinking, oh, now we're above 200. It's going to go. It almost failed there because he got up there. He did make a new high the next day, and now you get the breakdown here. So now 200 becomes major resistance for Alibaba. So short term here, Alibaba's got to get above that high at 201.50 before I get interested in as a long-term swing trade. At short term, I'm almost interested in the short if it can get in the upper 199 area, because I think 200 becomes major resistance here. Once again, long term, I still think Baba is still one of the best stocks out there. Short term, though, trouble at 200.
You're looking at pre-market high at 196.47, so that's 50 cents away. What do you have? Yesterday's highs up at 198.43, but the day that had the good news on the listing, it hit 201.50. So that could be another target on the upside. But, you get the good, obviously the news, supposed good news, they sold it off on about the double listing. Trying to fill a gap here. That gap, it was filled yesterday. It was 193.63, got to 192.80. So, looking at 192.80, if it broke that, could easily trading at 190.22.
Started to leak big time here in the S&P. We've given back about 5 handles since we started the show, so just keep an eye there. The market still has a lot of chop going on. Just individual stock news. One story we did miss here we didn't talk about yet, so the next 2 minutes I want to do that. Blackberry, Microsoft strategic partnership here. Microsoft, not really a big deal for them, but Blackberry, a huge deal for them. Double B trading up 6.1% in the pre-market. It's a big lift for Double B. What's the details here, Spencer? You got any details on this? I just saw the headline strategic partnership.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really understand the details, but I'll read you the headline. Partnership with Microsoft for BlackBerry Enterprise Bridge to allow Microsoft apps and Office programs within BlackBerry Dynamics. I don't know what that means, but that's a little bit more color for you, if you do know what that means.
Either way, that is a nice pop for Double B. So you're breaking out above the hot double top that just had from a couple days ago, around 1327, 1330, 1350. I don't know how big this is. Anytime a strategic partnership with Microsoft, it sounds pretty good for Double B. So I don't know if I'm coming in here short in the stock, but 1350 is above those highs. So as long as you're above 1330, maybe you can play from the long side. Starts getting below 1330, I get concerned.
Yeah, I think this was one you'll get a pretty good response, like off the open. Let's say we open here at 1350 and you hold, and maybe get up and challenge $14. But I see a series of highs. This is going back in January, and this is from January 18th all the way to January 29th. All of your daily highs were between 1338 and 1361. So just cut that in half and holds 1350. Looking for a continued move on the upside. It can't hold 1350. Looking for some back and fill here. And what kind of? It's only traded 60,000 shares. So I'll just go to my theory of, do you know how much stock it takes? It's not that heavy, but in order to move it, yesterday's session, it traded 5 million shares and it moved 40 cents. And now you have it moving 80 cents on 60,000 makes me a little skeptical.
It is big news, though.
It is big news. Yep. I will agree with you on that. All right.
Is that air math?
With us. We have Nick. I was going to say
that's Joel's air math. Nick Shaheen coming in. Nick, how are you doing out there on the West Coast? What are your thoughts here at Choppy Market? Yesterday, obviously got a little bit hit on the tech side of it. They come back a little bit here this morning. What are your thoughts here? Let's talk the Qs right away. QQQ.
Okay, so QQQ, I am long overnight. I shouldn't have been long overnight. It was somewhat of a gamble, but I took it just to flip all these headlines off. It's my way of rebelling. I jumped the gun a little bit, and maybe we'll make some money on it. Buying calls, call spreads at the money 2-3 weeks out is how we did it in the chat room. We had a few people that also sold puts below. So, this is a little more aggressive, but it should pay this morning. So the Qs fell because of FANG, obviously, tied very closely. I think collectively, if you include Apple, that's probably more than half of the Qs. So no doubt that the math worked out that way. And, fundamentally, maybe they all got infected by the Facebook announcement yesterday, which was old news, just a different spin on it. So I'm not sure that they deserve such a drubbing. Google was down 3% at one point.
They hit them hard. What about Facebook? So what about Facebook themselves? They come out with the bad news, the data, potential data breach. Stock obviously got down to $170 and is down here again, another $1.50. Some negative analyst commentary, obviously, for analyst chase price. What are your thoughts here on Facebook, though? I mean, valuation, it's not crazy up here, if you look at it from a fundamental perspective. Technically, it's been hanging out between 170 and 180 for a long time. What are your technicals saying on this?
Well, if you look at the chart I just posted, it went from one pivot point to another. Around 182.84 was a pivot on the upper side, and around anything above, I think, 171 has been pivot for a while, since 3 earnings reports ago. I think that was last July. So it is contention levels should provide some support. In other words, whoever fought over this level for a period of time are likely to continue fighting unless some new reset happens. And if that happens, then I look at the 164 area, because that was like a stopover point, and that was the deeper dip that was defended in September. So we have a recent low of 167 not too long ago in February, on like 3 days after the shocker on a Friday, or 2 days maybe, the trading days. So that would be the next level to look at if it fails. I don't think it should go there, but fundamentally the story is still not broken. My thesis on Facebook, it's hard to mess up over 1 billion users that are engaged every day, all day. So one way or another, they'll figure it out, and this too shall pass. And I think Zuckerberg should come out and say something, and he probably will, and they'll just move on. If you look at it, it trades in plateaus. Extend it to a weekly chart, you'll see it goes up, it comes down and consolidates over a period of time, and then just sets a new level higher. So the question is, what do you do with it? If you're willing to own it lower, say at 140, there's huge premiums to be paid down there yesterday. Why? The market was falling hard and Facebook was falling hard. So the premiums were juiced up on steroids.
How far out, Nick? Nick, how far out on that?
I'll give you an idea. September 140 paid almost $4. So your break-even level is 136. The question is, would you buy Facebook at 136?
And, and the other thing about that too, and Nick, where you capitalize on a lot of your trades, opposed to some of my option trades, is that if it goes nowhere, you win, right?
I need nothing to happen and I win. That's how I trade.
Yeah.
If it's boring and nothing happens, I'm making money.
I gotta learn that strategy here. Okay, well, let's go to a couple trickier ones that are in the news today. Oracle, does its face plant after earnings here. You're finding a buyer in the lower 147 handle. There's some support down at 46. You kind of like to wait. You don't need to hop in today, right? But you'll keep this a day or two and see if it makes an earnings low. Share your thoughts on Oracle.
Sure. Oracle, this is a dinosaur, basically, a survivor of the dot-com bubble, I believe. And it took it a long time to recover from the crash there. So 47, you mentioned that level. If you look at, I didn't extend my white line, but if you look at it, it's obvious standout. So it was resistance a few earnings ago, last March, 2017. they failed into from a breaking out, or at least that was the top of the breakout from earnings then. And then on the second earnings report, obviously the market saw something they liked and way up. And since then, they have used 47 as a floor. So the question is, this contention level you just mentioned, will it hold? Will it not hold? Unless they change. I think they met expectations. They beat the top line. They met the bottom line. But I think the forward guidance was kind of iffy. They're still growing their fundamentals, like the new SAS, so software as a service. They're growing that. They're growing cloud. So they're headed in the right direction. But the guidance was less than enthusiastic, I think. So they're punishing them based on that. I'm not an expert on it, but I think that's my perception. And it's not that expensive. It's probably under 20 PE, trailing PE. So it's not like a forward extension of what they're doing now. So if somebody is long the stock, it's probably too late to sell. And if somebody is looking to snipe in via sold puts or just buying calls, I'd give yourself some time. If you're buying calls or call spreads, I would do it way out in time.
All right, some other stocks in the chat here. TT Mac is looking at HIMX here. And boy, this is kind of going against the grain here. The stock's been cut in half since the middle of December. Yeah, it's coming under some support here. It's $7. I can see the monthly support so far this low at $6.90. You had another low at 686. To me, my question is what's going to get this stock to break this horrendous 4-month losing streak? Any thoughts on Himax Technologies?
I don't know them, but technically I can't tell much from the daily. So I went to a weekly, and this is an area of support, but it's a kind of a wide area given the small price of the stock. So 6-ish to 7-ish has been a floor for a while. So I don't know it. So if I'm long it, do I sell now? It's probably too late. But I really don't know it. But I should expect some support here from the chart itself.
All right, let's move on here, Nick. A general question here from Jazz. Do you short cash secured puts or put spreads? I think you do both, don't you?
I do both, and depends on the situation and depends on the ticker. So somebody from this room, actually, she asked me if I was doing a Tesla sold puts. I said maybe under normal circumstances I would, but not when the market itself is also nervous, because, I can count on the Tesla bulls to step in, but if the markets are falling, they're probably less likely to step in. So it depends on what I'm trading. Right. And the downside, if it's price line or booking, sold, it's a pretty, each one will probably require 10, 15,000 in cash margin secured against it. So it all depends.
All right. What are your favorites here, Rob Hood? Do you offer an option trade on KEYW? And this is even a new one for me to type up here. KEYW, is that an index? What is that? No,
some sort of a holding corporation. I don't know what it is. Well, technically that's looking frisky. They are. I don't know what they're doing this morning, but from per yesterday's close, let's put it this way, because I've been hit by that. So the 840-ish level is if they break above it and close above it, they should use it as a breakout point. Just from a technical perspective, I know nothing about the company. So the upside target will be wherever the last time they fought over. So I would look at like 930-ish to before they start hitting some sort of a resistance. But this is a bullish stance.
All right. FedEx has earnings coming up. Have you played it into earnings or after earnings? How are you going to play it? Usually moves pretty good.
Usually the short-term reaction to earnings, I've said this a million times, is a complete coin flip. If I hand you the P&L, you could not guess which way the stock will move. I've seen great reports get hammered 10, 20%. I've seen awful reports get spiked. So we don't know. Short term. Longer term, they've been beaten down. So are the transports, and they were frisky for a while before we had this little last dizzy. So I would have to look at the open interest and see how the market is lined up, and I'll go with the flow for the lottery ticket over the earnings. Fundamentally, I was considering going long FedEx or UPS, but I need to do homework to see which one is less affected by the Amazon news that Amazon will start delivering its own packages. Also, news that Amazon is looking into some more physical brick and mortar stores, so that could also alleviate some delivery stuff by having people pick up. I think they were buying. Rumor is that they were buying some Toys R Us stores, so I don't know about that. But yeah, it's a good company.
I know you've been keeping a close eye on Boeing here, and magical run up to 370 and change. It's come down kind of hard. I see super extra major resistance. You have like a quad top at 355. Really coming into an interesting area. You had 2 lows at 322 area, and then you had 3 other lows around 318 here. To me, when a stock gets down to these kind of, these big support areas, I mean, it gives you a place if you want to get long, a definite out. But it seems like the longer it hangs out towards these lows, the greater propensity to take it out. Thoughts on Boeing?
Well, the fear in Boeing, first of all, I am long Boeing. And the fear is that, tariffs were going to affect Boeing. They're going to stop buying Boeing airplanes. That's bunk, in my opinion, because it's one of 2 players, and they've committed these long-term sales. So it would have to be like a coordinated global effort to say, don't anybody buy Boeing, and let's get Airbus all the money in the world in order to ramp up production to meet all the demand. I don't believe that can happen. So Boeing is a tremendous company, and with a pipeline that spans almost a decade in sales should not be a worry. So if they're selling it because of sales, I'm buying it. And there are several ways you can go long. It has higher lows in the last 2-3 days, 4 days, and it is a solid company. So I'm not afraid if I'm long. And if I want to wait out before I jump into it, that's fine. Yesterday, it moves the Dow when it's a high ticket price stock inside of a price weighted average. So the Dow suffered tremendously when it and Caterpillar, say, or Goldman fall. So the drag from Boeing affected the whole market from the sense that everybody watches the Dow. But as a company, I don't mind being long it here.
Thoughts on 2 stocks here. Ed Parker's asking on Amazon. That stock, big run, probably sold off a little bit with the market. I mean, I know when you were talking, you thought it might see 2,000 this year. All-time high, 16-17.54. We pulled back. 5 down days in a row. Looks like it's getting ready to snap that streak, trading up 757. Thoughts on Amazon and then Apple?
Okay, if your thesis on the whole market is that it will be higher at the end of the year, Amazon will definitely be higher at the end of the year, and a lot higher than the market is, higher relative to what it is right now. Does that make sense? Okay, so I just posted a long-term chart for Amazon for the people that keep calling it frothy. It is not a frothy company. It's a startup that is profitable from day one. So no reason to short this unless you want to short the market. Now, having said that, if you want to short the market, this is an outstanding way of shorting the market because this will run much faster than the market downhill. But if your thesis on the whole market is higher at the end of the year, this one should be higher and a better bet. So how would I play it is a debit call spread at the money out in time will give me a chance to double my money. That's the most conservative way of doing it.
All right, couple more out of the chat. One that we played together a little bit on the short side, and I know you're completely out. I'm still kind of just hanging on here. US, yeah, yep.
Okay, so
you got me, Nick. It went against you, but it ended up coming in. What are you thinking now, boys? The Bulls are defending this $38 level. What do you think, Nick? Is it going to turn around and rebound here?
I don't blame them for defending that level, technically speaking. If you see, I just put a red line through it. I don't know where it is right now, but 39-ish 39. is contentious for this year. I think they fought over it in January, then fell off a cliff. I don't know what that was about on earnings, I guess. Came right back to it and then blew up. And they may have been the middle of February. Was that the tariff announcement? I'm not sure. And then they tried to hang up there.
Yep.
And then you pointed it out as hanging off a cliff, and we caught it a little bit down here. So the rest at the contention level is totally natural. Maybe it drifts down towards 37.20 to 25, but I'm not playing that potential.
Yeah, it's got to get away from this $38 level. Couple more for you, Nick. Closely followed Apple. Been performing well. Made a new. It seems like every time this thing makes a new all-time high by like a half a buck or buck or whatever, it has a little bit of a pullback. I don't know if that's just because it's such a big part of the indexes and that's the way the market moves here. But coming off a little bit of a losing streak, trying to find support. Your thoughts on Apple?
Okay, so Apple, obviously nobody has to tell you that the fundamentals are great financially and sales. I don't like the management at all, but he still has time to figure his crap out. So here is a level 172.5 is a contentious level because it was resistance for a long time from November into the beginning of the year, and then it fell off a cliff, and then it came back and fought over the same level, 170, let's call it 173 for round numbers, burst from it, came back to it, burst from it, and yesterday it kind of came back to it, and we shall see if it holds. So for the short term, maybe there is downside pressure towards 167.5, and that would be okay with the open interest data that I'm looking at. But if I'm long Apple, I'm not going to sell it to rebuy it at 170. If I'm trading Apple, I could maybe trade it via options, but it all depends on what you're trying to do with it. So over the long term, like Amazon, if the market's going to be higher, Apple's going to be higher. So it's a quasi-market trade.
All right, one stock and then one general question for you. We'll let you go. NVIDIA trading up $1.10 in the pre-market, made that new all-time high. Seems like holding, getting over and closing above 250. It did that 2 days ago, 250.48 before the solve. So that's my big number here. Is this little decline, this 10, 12 point retreat off the all-time high, is that enough for you to be recharging, reloading in NVIDIA?
Okay, so NVIDIA is one of those stocks that represents the tech trade. And it all depends on what you think of the tech trade. And that, Kramer is going to defend it for you. So technically speaking, it's setting higher lows, which is good. And it's kind of testing a top. And if the higher low trend fails, then you get a breach in this rising wedge. And the downside would be, I just planted a line down to 220, but it's not a scientific number, but it is a number. If I look left, that's the number they fought over for a while since last November. So that would be the natural resting place of the first stop. So if left alone, if the markets in general continue to grind higher from here, and we don't have a potential disaster tomorrow from the Fed, and if we don't have a potential disaster from the White House by firing the special prosecutor, those are the two major risks for me right now in the macro picture, and those are game changers for me. So the thesis is that markets are going to be higher, this will be higher. So I won't get out of my longs yet.
All right, one final one or question for you. Does Nick see any concern with oil with what's going on in Syria?
Well, not Syria, but I am skeptical of oil. If I'm long oil, I'll book my profits on this breakout. When Goldman Sachs said it sees much higher prices in oil, I said I take the other side of that trade. Okay. And so, the fundamentals on oil did not change. We didn't increase demand that much, and the supply is completely, rising. So where's the bullish statement there? Aramco is not going public, forget that. And so where's the incentive there? So technically, okay, it's in the breakout now, but I would not be long oil aggressively just because I just don't see the fundamentals yet. I guess maybe I'm not an expert at oil, but technically it is. If I'm long, I stay long and see where that takes me, but I'll trim profits.
Nick, one more and I'll let you go. How do you feel about so we know about Fang, right? How do you feel about Fang Man? I saw us on Twitter. Fang Man is Fang plus Microsoft, Apple, NVIDIA.
Hey, that was me, maybe. I did Fang.
That was not you.
I did Fang Ma. I did Fang Ma. I put Microsoft and Apple.
Okay.
So here's what I did yesterday. I shared, Fang versus the market, and they were definitely lagging. So let me find my Fang Ma, Apple and Microsoft, and then they basically look the same. So they're all great companies. They're all viable, and they are all the market because they are the market. So this is Fang, Apple and Microsoft, or Fangam, or whatever. So we're so close to all-time highs. We are allowed a few red ticks. Fundamentally, how low can you take Apple before it becomes a bargain? We said that here before. It's like 18 PE. Let it fall to 140. Would you buy it? For 135, would you buy it? Would you think Buffett will add? You think this Apple itself will buy more? I think all of these, the answers are yes, 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 and yes. So you give it room. If you're long, I wouldn't be shaken out on this dip.
All right, Nick Shaheen, Create Income with Option Spreads is his site. You can find it on the Marketify platform. Nick, thanks so much for the time today. Talk to you next Tuesday.
Outstanding show. Thank you.
All right.
Dennis, getting a little talk here about Roku. IPO original owners released tomorrow. You got the upgrade. I mean, there has been some big plays off, insider selling. Thing is you don't know if they're going to sell or not, right? So
sometimes they don't.
Yeah.
The stock was up at 50.
Tomorrow's a lockup expiration.
It's more prone. This is a great point you're making. It's more, people come in here and, when you release, and you get these lockup expirations there, sometimes people just don't hit the open market and sell. And they'll look at it and say, well, it was $50 2 months ago. Now I'm going to sell 33. So if it was up near the highs, I think you got a case. When it's down here, I don't know how much influence that has. So great point you're making. It depends on what almost the chart looks like, because people have been sitting there waiting to sell and they're like, wow, that's out at $35 when it was 52 months ago. So that whole, they think that they had that money there. So loss aversion type of deal and trying to get all that money back. So I don't think there's as much of an impact when the stock's at 35 than it would have been if this was up at 50, like it was in the middle of February.
And they could also lock up sell calls, right? I mean, there's different things they can do besides just coming outright in selling the stock. 857 here, Dennis. We get a little leak here off that pre-market high, running from my 27.31 order here. Anything in imbalances that?
No, you know what? They're small, so you're not getting much of an indication there at all. I just noted earlier Alibaba 38,000 to buy. They're mostly small. Some are to the sell side, some are to the buy side. They're just so small that it's hard to say that this is going to have any influence on the S&Ps at all here right now. Some days you get these 830 numbers, and it's like, whoa, it's all buying bounces, and the S&Ps will start popping. Or it's all sell bounces, and the S&Ps will start falling. Not the case here today. It's just a non-event really so far. And I mean, things can change. These balances could all pop up in the next 33 minutes and change significantly. But as of right now, it's very muted activity in imbalance land.
All right, 858 here. Quick rundown. S&P's pre-market high. Well, you got something else, Dennis?
I'm really torn here, just on the cues and looking, at Fang even this morning. You got Facebook trade down $1.50, so it's weak. You got Amazon trading up about $8, so it's pulling. It's okay here. Netflix is flat, so it's not really helping you out much. Google is up, with the market. So you got two of them up. You got one significantly down. And you got one that's flat. You can look to Apple. It's kind of doing what the market's doing. But tech's, for the most part, have just been meandering here all morning. They're trying, to find a catalyst to either buy them or sell them. And we're kind of sitting at the crossroads here. I mean, this is an important day for the NASDAQ. Is it going to shrug off yesterday's sell-off, or is it going to see follow-through? Obviously, I think there could be a retest of the lows, and that would get you down in the 165 handle on the Qs. It's a matter of what it does on that retest. Does the selling, pressure come in and they sell it all the way down, or do we hold those lows? We're going to hold yesterday's low, then you have another BTFD opportunity. Take out yesterday's low, and then it could get ugly again. So you want to be careful. Automatically, everybody thinks, when the market's up the next day, it's all good. But sometimes it's actually the worst thing for the market when you see the market get hit hard. And then you get a little rally the next morning, and everybody's like, oh, I'm going to lighten up here. And they start lightening up, it starts leaking. And then that starts, getting more sellers coming to the market. So believe it or not, sometimes it's actually good to just get that 2-day washout and get it done with. We didn't get that in this case. We had a 1-day washout on the Facebook. Maybe that's all it's going to be. But these things tend to not work themselves out in one day, which makes me a little bit skeptical of the rally this morning.
I'll just add, going back to Roku, Larry, I don't know where you saw that tomorrow is the lockup expiration. I do see on NASDAQ Roku.com that they have the 27th as Roku's lockup expiration. So I'm not sure if it's tomorrow or that date. And that's pretty much it. I just wanted to note a couple ratings that crossed my radar. Nutrisystem, NTRI catching a downgrade at August this morning to hold. That was kind of the one besides the Oracle and the Roku that we already covered. There may have been one more, but that was kind of, and we covered Adobe as well. But,
it's amazing that you can see Nutrisystem, trading down here at $30 and, it was $60 back in October, something cut in half. Yet Weight Watchers in that same time period went from 45 to 66. Like, are they eating their lunch? No pun intended. Is that what's happening here? Is Weight Watchers just the place to go and they're taking everybody's business? Or is it, something else happening?
Well,
but
I think
Weight Watchers has been straight up really since November, and Nutrisystem has been straight down. That's interesting.
I thought the point was not to eat their lunch. I thought that was the point of all this. All right.
One quick broad market comment here. We are starting to leak in the spoos a little bit. We're only up a buck at 23.75. I'm looking for some two-way action here. I'm not looking for us to take out the low from Friday or from yesterday at 97.25. Nor am I expecting us to rip up back, and get all of yesterday's losses back. You have a big event tomorrow. You have the Fed meeting, and are they going to go 3? Are they going to go 4? Is Jerome Powell going to slip a half a point increase in there on people, which would really spook the market? So I think you just, I don't think you're going to see the big move. I don't think you're going to beat out follow through on yesterday's decline. And trade the ranges kind of day, which are never my favorites. But that's all. Keep an eye on 1350 in Blackberry. Spencer, you want to wrap things up?
That's it for us today, folks. Hope you enjoyed the show. You can catch the podcast on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Stitcher, or just rewatch us on youtube.com/BenzingaTV. Thanks to our guest, Nick Shaheen. Thanks to all you who hops into our YouTube chat and premarket.benzinga.com. On tomorrow's show, we are joined by Jonathan Corpina from Meridian Equity Partners on the floor of the NYSE. But that's it for us today. Have a good rest of your day, folks. We will see you, folks, on Wednesday.